Republican Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, and Louie Gohmert, their clown show has been rejected for the second time in 1 week. This time they showed up at the DC Department of Corrections. Now you might wonder why they show up there. They're not there to turn themselves in yet, are they? No, they showed up because many of the insurrectionists on January 6th are being held there, and they want to show up for another political opportunity to act like they're being mistreated, and also to act like that there's evidence being withheld that might help them get off in their cases and maybe prove something that we all saw didn't happen. We'll get into some of those details first, but first I want to show you guys Matt Gaetz getting turned away with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Louie Gohmert kind of buzzing around the area with them. So here's this first scene.
What if I put the mask on?
Yeah, sure. Put your mask on.
Congressman? Yeah, the door's locked, and again, we're just here to ask questions, and now they've locked the door and have not given us access. This was apparently a bait and switch. We are here just to speak to a supervisor, and when the supervisor came out and we came out to have that discussion, they literally ran behind us and locked the doors.
Oh, now they got their backs.
Have the opportunity to present our identification and seek a review.
This is a rare time under this administration where prison is used to lock people out.
Because they don't want to know what happened.
So if you couldn't hear everything that was being said there, at least some of the highlights, Matt Gaetz pointed out that this was a bait and switch. First of all, if you notice, if politicians, the kind of photo ops they used to have were set up with people who were there to make them look better, Republicans, apparently their photo ops now are to just show up unannounced and say, how come you didn't let me in? This is an outrage. And Louie Gohmert at the end there saying it's the Biden administration's fault because the Biden administration runs the DC corrections facility there. Somehow it all has to be connected. That's another sign that you know there's a political stunt. Anytime they connect it all the way up to the White House, when it's something like this that they showed up to unannounced, it's their fault. Now, number two, Matt Gaetz also pointed out that it's a bait and switch. He said there's a bait and switch they did there. We show up unannounced, and they said you can't come in. What a bait and switch that is. Last time when I showed up to someone's party that I wasn't invited to, and they kicked me out, then they said, what a bait and switch. I showed up to crash your party, you're gonna kick me out, what's wrong with you? But that's not where it ended. There was other moments when also Louie Gohmert wanted to make sure that his face was shown here so he can have something to talk about at their later clown press conference. Let's see Louie Gohmert.
People that vote on whether or not to fund you, at what level, and we're trespassing.
I understand that.
My gosh, the government is upside down.
Can you please go ask your supervisor?
You right now are obstructing entrance into this facility. This is the way people enter. You're obstructing our
We
entrance.
won't obstruct the entrance, but
We'll
we're not
help anybody.
trespassing. No, that's what we're doing. Okay, we'll clear the entrance.
The supervisor came down, was standing right here, and turned her back on me. The other one says she won't talk anymore, that we're trespassers. She's not saying any more than that. We have turned a corner. We're in totalitarian Marxist territory here. This is the way third world people get treated.
So also a spokesperson from, I think it was Marjorie Taylor Greene's spokesperson, said that they were not given an explanation to why they're being denied. Now, before we get into more discussion, and one more point of when Matt Gaetz decided to have his moment in front of the cameras, a spokesperson from the DC Department of Corrections told The Hill in a statement that the trio showed up, quote, unannounced with an unauthorized camera crew requesting a facility tour. Again, don't forget, the spokesperson for Marjorie Taylor Greene said that they were not given an explanation. Anyway, by doing so, these officials compromised safety and security operations at the DOC. Safety and security related to DOC's facilities, staff, and residents is a high priority. And for that reason, the DOC has established procedures, protocols related to visits to its facilities. All visitors, which includes family members of residents, attorneys, and public officials, must adhere to the rules and procedures of the DOC, is what the statement added. Is this gonna work?
No, of course not. But I love what you pointed out, Jayar, that this is a non-bait and switch. No, dude, we never baited you. We really didn't wait to come. Okay, you came anyway. I guess that's just a switch and switch. But I did like that trick that they did at the door. They're like, oh, we're gonna have you talk to a supervisor. Just step outside right there for a second. Okay, yeah, he left. Close the door and lock it, right? And he's like, oh, come on.
It's like Looney Tunes.
Yeah, it's like a third grade trick. I loved it. And of course they fell for it right away. And then Gohmert's always my favorite. I mean, what the hell going on here? remember Gohmert thought that the Ottoman Empire was going to take over under Obama.
Oh.
Right? Maybe that's what it is, Gohmert. Oh my God, we solved it. But ironically, it happened under Trump. Okay, and I love the sign in the background there. Where's due process? They went through the judicial system. They got arrested. They got arraigned. They have lawyers. I mean, it's due process 101. It's not like we rounded up random people. By the way, we did do that at one point, and we put them in Guantanamo Bay. And when we did that, the Republicans were like, "Yes, no due process. We don't need no stinking due process, right?" Now all of a sudden, you go through all of the due process, and they're like, "Where is it?" So, and look, one substantive point. Photo op. It's a photo op, right? They're going to do, like a little trick here where they pretend to be aggrieved and the victims and stuff like that. But do Democrats do photo ops sometimes and in detention facilities? Yeah, they do, okay? And so, but now let's talk about the difference. So a lot of Democrats went to see the kids in cages and they wanted to see the facilities and they wouldn't get let in. So that's pretty similar, okay? So okay, keep that in mind. Always think, what if the shoe is on the other foot? Now, what are the differences? Well, those are kids kept in cages that hadn't committed any crimes at all, and were separated from their family, and we really didn't know if they were okay. We got no information at all from inside those facilities. In this case, these are people who committed a crime, some of them very serious crimes. They're inside, have full access to their families, their lawyers. We know exactly what their conditions are. There's no reports of bad conditions at all. So there's nothing to see. Their lawyers and family have already seen everything they can see. This is just nothing but a photo op for the sake of a photo op when you know exactly what's inside. Rayy, Vana.
Yeah, I think I really loved most about this story, Matt Gaetz standing outside the door saying, "We showed up to prison and the door was locked." Yeah. It's a prison. That's kind of the point. If the door was unlocked, anyone could come in and anyone could come out, it wouldn't exactly be a prison, would it? But it is interesting to see these Republicans suddenly, pretend to give a crap about the conditions inside of prisons. And Louie Gohmert didn't miss a beat when it came to dog whistling to his base when he said, this is the way third world people get treated, which we all know he meant, these white Republican middle class Americans are being treated the way we treat black and brown folks in this country. That's not right. That's not the way it's supposed to work. But of course we know that they don't care about the way that people are treated in the prison system because they were silent during the height of the pandemic when, prisoners weren't even just, given personal protective equipment. Some of them didn't even have soap. Some of them didn't even have access to showers. There was no social distancing, and COVID was spreading rampantly in prisons. They didn't seem to care about what was going on behind closed doors then. So, it just goes to show that, again, this is just a media stunt and a way to play to their base.
Well, there's one way they can prove you wrong is if they show up to fight some of the injustices that do happen in our prison systems and in our judicial system when it comes to imprisoning people who were exonerated, who had flimsy cases throughout our history, killing people. We've had many people on death row that were killed, and later we found out that prosecutors purposely hid and manipulated evidence, made sure people were murdered, or maybe even the tons of people that are in prison for small level drug crimes like marijuana possession, things like that. And now as former politicians like Boehner, who's making tons of money off of lobbying for those same kinds of companies that have popped up now that the legal changes have happened, but we still have those people in prison. I'm waiting for their prison tour to knock on every prison in America and be like, let out all the people that had like a gram of marijuana in their pockets. Are they doing that tour? It doesn't matter. Let's go to Gaetz in his this last little piece where he decided to try and go hardcore on the reasons that they showed up here, and then I'll stop talking about Matt Gaetz.
Every day in America, people are locked in prison. It's not every day that people are locked out of a prison, which is what happened to multiple members of Congress today. How does the Biden administration expect us to participate in the representative republic when they deprive us of access to information that would inform our oversight work and our appropriations decisions? Are their defendants, as a consequence of their conduct on January 6th, being deprived of access to potentially exculpatory evidence? The second category of concerns deals with the specific treatment of detainees. To get answers, we did what members of Congress normally do. We showed up at the facility and sought a tour. And now there is an unprecedented effort to deny members of Congress information that relates to criminal cases and that relates to the treatment of people that are held.
I'm just happy for him that there was no one standing there with a whistle, and and that someone else didn't run him off asking if he was a pedophile, because that did happen this week. So 1 out of 2 is a good for a press conference to work this week.
Yeah. So they look like comic book villains. Green Goblin showed up today at prison. It was a surprise, and they talk like it too. And none of what they say makes sense. It's not every day that people are locked out of prison. No, it is every day. You can't just randomly walk into a prison. If I went to a prison now and said, "Let me in," they'd be like, "No, it's a prison." Right? No, you have to get an appointment. Who are you visiting? Why are you visiting them? And there's a process, right? And by the way, can they actually go to that prison? Yes. You know what they have to do? Get an appointment. You can go in there, lawyers. You can go in 100 different ways. You're a congressman, of course you can go in. You just have to get an appointment, right? And so now they're locking people in and out of prisons. Yes, yes. That to Vana's point, that's exactly the point. And then you look at these conservatives, and Jayar and Vana both kind of alluded to it. They can't understand it until it happens to them, right? So why do we get even a tiny bit of prison reform in the Trump administration of all times, which he then later regretted, of course? But it's because so many white people started getting locked up for oxy, right? And then they were like, oh wait, did you guys know that people are just being put in prison because they have an addiction problem? Yeah, we totally knew that. All of us knew that except you. And then when it happened to cousin Bob, right? Oh, you were like, oh, this is an outrage. We should do something about it. Yes, that's what we've been saying the whole time. I remember Duke Cunningham, he's a corrupt Republican, he got caught. It's one of my favorite stories. We covered it a million years ago on TYT. And he's a weeping press conference once he got caught and he's about to go to jail. Like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. It was illegal to steal money, I didn't know. Before the press conference, he took a duffel bag full of money and tossed it out the window into his wife's yard so he wouldn't get caught. The cops were right behind him.
That's not illegal.
Okay. A duffel bag full of money, he threw it out the window. Okay, the reason I bring that up is because after he served a prison sentence, got convicted, and then he comes out of prison and goes, do you have any guys have any idea how bad it is inside prison? We should really do prison reform. Like, oh really, Duke? Oh really? So now all of a sudden, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Louie Gohmert are caught feelings about prisons because some of their buddies are the rioters, the treasonous people who try to kill people at the Capitol are inside a prison. They're like, did you know they put people in prison if they're looking to kill people? I wish somebody had told me that before. Yes, that's exactly what they do.